KevG Weather Overview. This is a long-range and tropical discussion. If you want to know what's happening in the shorter term, click on the video below this one, directly below this video, to find out what's going on in the short and medium range. We're going to take a look at the long range in just a second, but I wanted to look at the water temperature profiles because it's very interesting what's going on here. Now, as long as I've been following weather, as a kid and as I've gotten better at following it, I've never seen a water temperature profile this cold in the Atlantic Ocean on the whole. What do I mean by that? Well, we're looking at the water temperature in Celsius right now. Anything below 29 Celsius in degrees is not going to be very supportive of a hurricane, ladies and gentlemen. And if we look at where the hurricanes tend to form this time of year, they form off the African coast, and then they make their way across. They also form in the Eastern Caribbean. These temperatures are marginal at best. I mean, if you look near the African coast, the temperatures are in the low 20s Celsius. I don't think I've ever seen that on or about August 1st for as long as I've been following weather. You look at the North Atlantic, look how cold the North Atlantic is. I mean, it's just incredible. And this may be a harbinger of things to come. In other words, we go through cycles, and they can last 20 to 30 years in terms of the water temperature profile. And right now, I think we are possibly, anyway, stepping into a colder phase of these Atlantic water temperatures. So it's something to kind of keep in the back of your mind as we go forward. Now, what does this mean for the short and medium range in terms of tropical activity? Well, in my estimation, if you want to look for hurricanes and tropical storms, you need to look near the coast. They're not going to form out in the Eastern Atlantic and make their way all the way over like Hurricane Donna did in 1960. They're going to be like Hurricane Carol in 1954. They're going to be like Hurricane Bob in 1991. And, they're going to be what I call Bahama Mamas. They're going to form in the Bahamas, and they're going to either go up the coast or they're going to form on their way out. This is a water temperature profile, to me, that spells trouble for the east coast of the United States. Now, whether that manifests itself into an actual hurricane hit up here, is obviously way, way off in the distance. We don't even have a storm to talk about. But it's something to keep in mind with these water temperatures the way they are. And also, this has long-term implications. As the water temperature in the Atlantic starts to cool on the whole, what will that mean for the long-term implications of our weather? We haven't really seen this. This is a very interesting phenomenon, at least to me. And when we take a look in stark contrast to what's going on in the Western Pacific near Japan and in Asia, look at how much warmer the water is out there. They are going to get a potentially very heavy typhoon season out here. Because look at the vast amounts of water over 29 degrees Celsius. I mean, this is a playground for tropical storms and typhoons to make very big headlines as we go forward. So look for a very active typhoon season in the Western Pacific. It's going to ramp up. Their typhoon season goes into October and November, just like ours does. So that is a very important thing if you're looking towards the Western Pacific and trying to make vacation plans or anything like that. Beware, because this water temperature profile spells trouble across the Western Pacific. Now, when we look back stateside at the long-range weather, what I'm noticing is that off the European model, this is where we are right now. That area of blue in the Midwest, was responsible for some absolutely gorgeous weather in the Midwest. And then as you moved further and further east, it got more hot and humid. Now I think what's happening is that the pattern is going to realign itself, at least for a few days, because as we go out in time, what happens is that the ridge off the East Coast starts to back in a bit. It starts to move from east to west, and that's going to promote at least a few days of hot, humid weather across the northeast part of the United States, I think, for Sunday through perhaps Tuesday into Wednesday. And then what happens is we go through time, we start to see that starts to weaken a bit as the ridge sort of backs up to the west. So I think all in all, you should expect a few days of at least hot and humid weather beginning Sunday. I think the point and click numbers might have to come up a little bit. It's something that we'll have to watch. But at least from Sunday through the early part of next week, perhaps for 2 or 3 days, we could be looking at temperatures above the 90-degree marker, especially in the urban locations. So I just wanted to give you a hint as to the long-range pattern, and I thought I'd do an interesting take on the water temperatures. So I will, obviously be updating this as we go along. We'll try to do more of these. But needless to say, interesting times ahead in the long range.